Hey, what's up, everyone? It is Sunday night, and we are at Bat City Comic Professionals, so it must be time to wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host, Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about this week's indie and small press comic releases. And as always, I'm super excited about this week's books, but I want to know what books you were excited about. So while we're talking, make sure you drop in the comments what books you picked up this week, because I love hearing what everybody else is reading. Since we're winding down our weekend, we're going to kick it off with the fact that we are drinking 3 Rain. This is a red blend from the Columbia Valley, and it says it's aromas of cherries and ripe fruit, followed by flavors of blackberry jam and subtle oak. So not a lot of actual fruits mentioned in there. Not really sure what flavors we're going to get, but we are apparently going to get some blackberry jam, which is cool. Oh, that's weird. Because it does taste more like blackberry jam than actual blackberries.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
It's like it's made from fermented jam.
Yeah, it's like you know how when your jam gets you leave it in the jar for a while and you get the liquid that it's like they just poured that out and then use that to ferment into wine. It's very strange.
I don't know if it's my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna, and now it's really oaky. Oh my gosh. That's really smoky on that, oak. All right. There is a lot of flavors going on here, and every drink is not the same. I just took 3 drinks, and none of them tasted the same to me. What a strange blend. It's almost not fully blended. I should have shook the bottle. But also, I want to be able to taste all of the different flavors. So this is one of the few wines where I'm like, wow, every drink I taste, I can taste all of the different flavors in it. But it's really interesting. It says that it's meant to pair with pasta, red meat, or pizza. And I appreciate the solid recommendation of pairing your wine with pizza on the back of this bottle. So, I'm always in for a wine that is supposed to go with pizza, and which will probably I put with this wine by the end of the day. But yeah, this is, like I said, it's completely different. I did not have any knowledge of what to expect, because red blends, you never know. They could be super sweet, they could be super dry. And again, I still there's no it's aroma of cherry and ripe fruit, but nothing, and then flavors of blackberry jam, but no actual this is the fruit that we use. So I don't really know what's in it, but it's kind of got some interesting taste to it. So we're gonna drink that throughout the night. If you're winding down your weekend with us, even if you're drinking water, let us know. We'd love to hear it. I'm gonna slide this over here, and then I'm gonna share this live stream with the world. This Taylor Swift video just came up, so that's cool too. I could just share, some cool Taylor Swift stuff. All right, cool. So that is shared. Perfect. Awesome. Now we are going to talk about some things coming up, things that just happened here in the store. This last weekend was our Story Spelunkers monthly book club for kids. It was awesome. We got to read Maleficent #1, which has been coming out from Dynamite, which is such a weird thing to have the Disney line at Dynamite Comics. Not something we're used to seeing, but they are all over great Disney kid comics right now, and they're doing a great job with them. But we got to read Maleficent #1 and talk about turning villains into heroes, and the difference between a solid villain and just somebody who is an antagonist. And it was really cool to kind of get to see kids as young as 4 or 5 all the way up to 12 get to talk about the differences and how they felt about somebody who they knew as a bad person versus someone they knew was just an antagonist to a story, and how we can kind of learn to use those terms correctly in storytelling and in development of our characters, which was really awesome. We also had jellyfish crafts today, which was a lot of fun. I should have brought mine. It's okay. I'm just really proud of my personal jellyfish that I colored, the 5-year-old that I am. But we had some really great ones. To kind of kick off our summer splash, we've got a new wall display in our kids section that highlights some of the fun summer books, because this is the first week of summer officially. I know those of you watching in Austin are probably rolling your eyes at me right now for saying it's the first week of summer, because you've been at 120 degrees for the last like 3 weeks. I'm sorry, I hope you are staying cool, but we officially have reached the summer solstice and launched into summer this week, and we are splashing into that with some great summer reading, which for those of us adults here, we're going to see a lot of good books tonight that you should definitely be adding to your summer reading list. And then we've got a lot of cool things coming up. Number one, I'm very excited about July 15th. It is a Saturday. It is Bat City night at the Bradenton Marauders baseball game. If you purchase your tickets through a link that is available as an event on our Facebook page, Bat City will actually see 20% of those proceeds come towards our programming, which is really exciting. We'll also be out that night. And your ticket comes with a ticket to the game, a free hat, and a soft drink at the concession stand, and it's only $15, which is crazy to me that you can go see a baseball game at the third oldest baseball stadium in the world, and you can go hang out there and watch the Marauders play, which this is the farm team for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Who are they still number one in the National League, or did they drop down this week? They dropped down the last couple weeks. Yeah, but they were rocking it earlier this year, which has been crazy, because coming into the year, everybody was like, ooh, Pittsburgh Pirates, like, those guys, are they any good? And now this year, everybody's like, wow, Pittsburgh Pirates, they are having a great season. So, but apparently not this week.
Last couple.
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of injured players. I know, because they're all on my fantasy baseball league, and they're all hurt now. And I am successfully last in the fantasy baseball league with no competition. So we're doing great. It's a lot of fun. But come out, join us on July 15th. The gates open at 5:30. The game's at 6:30. Hang out with Bat City at the baseball game, which also means we will be closing early on July 15th, so we can be out there. So that means for those of you kids who do comic creation workshops, they will actually be July 8th. So come out and hang out with us July 8th to make comics in the classroom. It'll be a lot of fun. So we've got, speaking of comics, we have so many people watching. Hello, everyone. We've got comics to talk about right now. So I'm going to jump into the books that came out this week. Remember, this is all your independent and small press books. There were a lot of great books from Marvel and DC, and we'll flash through them towards the end. But I want to highlight some of these other books, like Chicken Devils, number 4. This is volume 2 of Chicken Devil from Aftershock. This has been such a crazy story, and for those of you who are Breaking Bad fans, it's almost as if this was like lifted straight out of the show, because this is the story of a guy who runs a chicken restaurant, and one of his friends gets really invested into drugs and working with some gangs, and he double crosses all of them, and he's the co-owner of the restaurant. So now that drags in our main character into the fight. And in volume 1, he kind of takes down all of these mob bosses and drug lords on his own, because he's just trying to save his family. And then we get to this volume 2, where now some rogue police officers are like, hey, you're really good at what you do, we're going to recruit you to come work with us. And in this particular issue, he's like, hey, I want out. Like, his daughter is like, hey, I know you're assassinating all these people, I want you to kill my boyfriend who cheated on me, or I'm going to tell the cops that you're the guy, you're the vigilante. And he is like, okay, I gotta get out, like, my kids are losing it, my wife is losing it, I'm gonna lose my whole family, I gotta get out of this game. And he makes a deal with the cops that if he helps them destroy like all of these different people that they have lined up, they'll let him go. But you know, once you're in the game, can't really get out that easily. And we've got one issue left in this volume, and so we're gonna find out if the Chicken Devil himself can make it through. Speaking of some very violent comics, we have A Legacy of Violence, issue 6 from Madcave, featuring the art of Sarasota local Andrea Moody. This is a story of some Doctors Without Borders, essentially, who find out that a man in the area has been running a red room that may or may not be government sanctioned, and he is using this room as a way to get certain people pulled in and torture them, and these doctors are all finding all of the victims, and they think that it's just something bad going on in this town. But as we come closer and closer to this issue, we realize that this might actually be connected to the very doctors who have been brought here. And at this point, they're like, hey, we should leave because this is just going to get worse. And they realize if they leave, it will get worse for everybody, and there's no getting out of this. And in this issue, things get really, really dark for the doctors who do try to get away. And so we're setting up for some big, crazy things to come our way in Legacy of Violence. And if you haven't jumped in, this is one of those books where you're going to want to go and like catch up on it if you like those kind of suspenseful but like violent horror movies, because this is definitely building up something big in its works. So Eternus, issue 4 from Scout Comics. This is one that had so much hype around New York Comic Con last year, and then it's kind of had some delays going on and on with it to get it out, most of which, of course, came from Hurricane Ian last year. And so I think that, people weren't sure if it was even still coming out. Here it is. It does still exist. And if you haven't read it yet, this is the story of Hercules and a Gorgon, so like Medusa and all of her people, who are working together to figure out who slayed Zeus. And they are finding out that somebody is stealing all of his different pieces of armor and different things like that. And so they're like, we have to go after all of these people. We have to figure out who this murderer is. And in this issue, we kind of come across finally what is really going on. And both of the leads in our story are like, their motives are also being tested. And the gods, all of the different I say Greek gods, but I think it's supposed to be Roman because they keep translating things from Latin, but they're using the Zeus and Hercules and Hera and they're using all the Greek pantheon names, but they're translating from Latin. So, we'll see where they're going and if they're going to save Zeus, or if they can bring back a dead god, or if they can destroy the gods who are fighting, or if it's going to lead to an all-out war amongst the pantheon. But if you are into Greek mythology, this is another really cool one that's on the shelves right now. I'm going to move that over there. And speaking of Romans, we have Dead Romans, issue 4 from Image and the Shadowline imprint, which has been pumping out a lot of books recently, actually. And in this particular one, we are following 2 different stories. One is of a Roman centurion who is in the SPQR, which is the Roman military, and they are currently trying to fight essentially through like somewhere between Britannia, like into Britannia, and they're fighting the Germans at this point. And they, at the same time, we see a woman who is kind of leading another group, and we find out over the course of time that she's connected to the soldier that is the other lead character for us, and they are kind of trying to get back to each other because they've both made promises. This was actually my favorite issue so far because we did actually learn their backstories for the first time and their connection, and I really, really like the backstory that they are giving our lead woman. We get to learn that she was a spy born and bred like in another place and brought to Rome and kind of turned into this amazing assassin. Excuse me. Amazing assassin / spy. And so she is really, really cool. And now everybody's like, we just learned this lesson of the story of who you were, and now we don't know if we trust you anymore. And she's like, well, what are your options? Either you trust me and it backfires and I kill you, or you don't trust me and I kill you because you don't trust me. And I'm like, I kind of like this girl, and I can't wait to see where her character goes as the story goes on. But we are trying to see if these 2 can find their way back to each other before the entire SPQR gets destroyed by the advancing armies around them. So we'll see where that goes as the story unfolds. Scar, issue 3 from Dynamite and their Disney Villains line. This is your story of how Scar gets the idea to team up with the hyenas and go against Mufasa and Simba. And so it kind of started in issue 1 with finding out that Simba was born and he was going to get the throne, and Scar feeling like he's completely just getting missed over and over again. And in this issue, he is trying to team up with the hyenas, which was the idea of some of the vultures in town. And we get to meet the person that's actually in charge of the hyenas, who is not the person from the Lion King movie. We find out that Shinzi is actually, the one from the Lion King movie, is actually supposed to be eaten by the other hyenas because there is no food for them. And Scar comes in and saves her, as well as Ed and the other hyena. And the three of them are going to team up with Scar now to try to take out the would-be king Simba and build up an empire of their own. So we know where this is going because we have seen the Lion King, but we don't know how we get there. So it's really fun to see how Scar's story is. I like it because this one is the lead into like how Scar got there, but then like the Maleficent story has felt very much like a completely different time period and not related to the Aurora story. So I'm really curious to see what we're going to get when we get the Hades story, which is the next one coming up. And I'm super excited because Hades from the Hercules movie is such a fun villain. I Hate Fairyland, issue 6 from Image Comics. And I say issue 6, but I mean issue like 29 or something if we're going legacy numbers, because we are into like the 5th. I think we've had 5 trades of I Hate Fairyland, so this is like the 6th trade, but we are following Gert now as she has made her way out of Fairyland and grown up. And as an adult, she is approached by a rich man who is like, hey, my kid got sucked into Fairyland. He's not like the brightest crayon in the box, and I'm scared that he's going to get stuck there like you did. Can you go save my kid and I'll pay you all this money? So Gert's like, okay. So she weasels her way through all of these mythological places trying to get back to Fairyland, only to find out the kid's not there. And now, guess who's stuck in Fairyland and can't figure out how to get out once again. And the people of Fairyland have one thing and one thing only that they never want to see happen in Fairyland, and that is the existence of Gert. And so Gertrude is on the chopping block as far as everybody in Fairyland is concerned. And so we will see if she can once again make it out of there, or if she is going to always and forever be stuck hating Fairyland. I'm glad that I grabbed the right cover because I never actually check which I Hate Fairyland cover I get before the stream, and I'm always like, I really hope I didn't put the wrong one up.
Why is that?
Huh?
Why is that?
Because the other one is a explicit variant. Because the actual name of the comic is actually F Fairyland, and so the other cover is explicit. Up next, we have Kaya, issue 9, also from Image Comics. This is the story of a young girl who promises her family that she will keep her little brother, who is the chosen one, safe after it is determined that she, in fact, is not the chosen one, and all of her village is destroyed. And over the course of trying to get her brother to the mages who are supposed to train him in the ancient magics, everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong, and now Kaya is lost and on her own, and her brother has been kidnapped by a bunch of people who want to destroy him, and she's trying to find her way back to him before it's too late. And he's trying to figure out if he does actually have any magical powers so that he can find his way back to Kaya and save her before it is too late for her. It's such a great, beautiful story of two siblings who just want to do everything they can to protect each other. And you get all of these cool, crazy monsters and creatures and beings from all of this weird fantasy world. And so, such a fun adventure. There is a trade paperback already for the first 5 issues. So this is issue 9 if you missed those first 5. You can buy it in single issue. I think we still have them. But if you want to just collect it all in that trade paperback form, there is a trade paperback for 1 through 5 to help you catch up. So I'm going to take a drink of this wine really fast. See, and that's like blackberry jam with something at the end.
Wine.
Maybe. Yeah, just a little bit of wine.
Tastes like wine now.
Tastes like wine, right? It's just settled at this point. Mm-hmm. It's just tannins.
It had to settle on the palate.
Mm-hmm. Up next, we have The Mighty Barbarians, issue 3 from Ablaze Comics. I will tell you right now, there are 2 Barbarian books out this week, so just remember this one's The Mighty Barbarians from Ablaze. And this one is, I believe is the one that is, yeah, this is the one that's written by the same guy who writes Barbaric for Vault. And it features a bunch of classic characters from different barbarian and supernatural and like sword and sorcery kind of stories, like Cole, the Conqueror, Morgan Le Fay, Nanak, who is an Inuit warrior who can turn into a bear, Anasi, and Burka, who is a female barbarian. And they are all trying to stop the end of the world. And at this point, they have found this orb that is supposed to help them do that, but they need to find the rest of them. And Morgan realizes that her sister, who is a dark sorceress, who is very, very terrible and nobody wants to have to face, has the other orb. And so they go to her and they're like, hey, we need to have this orb. We're willing to fight you. We will do whatever. And she's like, look, if you want the orb, you can have it, but I want the soul of this person who wronged me, who is already dead, but I didn't collect the soul. But Morgan, you have the power to collect souls, so you go do that. So they have to go to the underworld, where they find this man who rules it, who rides a T-Rex, and they all have to come up with their own plan because they know for a fact that they will be double-crossed the second they return to Claudia, Morgan's sister. And so they end up creating their own plan, going into some battles, doing some crazy off-the-wall stuff. If you just want a big, over-the-top adventure that falls into those like Conan the Barbarian, sword and sorcery kind of stories, this is actually probably one of the best books on the shelf for that, because it has all of it. You're getting your magic, you're getting your barbarians, you get a female barbarian, you get a male barbarian, you get like a guy who can turn into a giant bear, you get a like spider style warrior, you get witchcraft, you get all of it, everything you could want. This is going to give it to you in like that classic form. So, you know, if that's your jam, that's your book. Up next, Saga issue 65 from Image Comics, and it's Saga, so most likely if you're going to read it, you're reading it. But if you haven't started Saga, I know there's tons of you, and I like to talk to that group of people right now because I think that I still probably get asked every other day from a million people, should I read Saga? And honestly, I think everybody should give it a try because I think it is one of the most accessible books no matter what your fandom. It's got some fantasy, but it's not super, super high in fantasy in the way it's written. It's got some sci-fi, but you don't really go to all the like details of all the different planets. It's got some action, but not too much. It's got it's got war and politics, but never really too much, because the reality is that Saga is a story that follows a family. And this family is essentially a family of refugees from a war who are constantly moving to different places to try to find a place where they can belong. And the story is told from the daughter, who in issue 1 is being born, her point of view. And so as we move through Saga over time, we are getting to see different characters and how they react to the war and to the things that have happened to them, whether that's the like death of loved ones or the meeting of loved ones or learning connections with different characters that you never would have thought that you would be connected to. I can't show you any of those pages. And there's so much that happens in this issue that I'm just going to hold the cover up right here for you for a second while I talk about it. We're still going. It is 65 issues in. That is very daunting. There are trade paperbacks of each of the 5 issues at a time. There's also compendiums of the first 55 issues. But most importantly, there is a $1 issue for the very first, $1 reprint of the very first issue. So if you're like, I don't know and I don't want to invest incredibly hard into 65 issues worth of a book until I know, guess what? You can jump into the very first issue for $1 and see if it's for you. And the very first trade, which is the first 4 issues, maybe the first 5 issues, is $9.99. So if you want to fill out Saga and see if it's for you. It's got a really low entry point for you to start and see if it's the book for you. I'm not gonna lie, I read the first issue and was like, Saga might not be the book for me. And then I read the first trade and I was like, I really like the discussions around this. I love book clubbing it and talking to people about it, but I just don't really know. And then I read the first compendium of 55 issues, and now here I am. I read every issue of Saga that comes out. So, you know, give it a go. Up next, we've got Changelings, issue 5 from Fizzy 8 Entertainment, who I love because their slogan is unity in diversity, and I think that is a great name for a comic book, great slogan for a comic book company. But Changelings is the story of two people who are, in fact, what we would consider changelings. One is a girl who was born in the human world and has been transferred over to the magic world, where she has been taught all of the dark arts. And the other is a boy who is made of magic, who is brought to the human world and is now working to be its protector. And these two changelings are in a constant battle for the rest of forever, where they must keep the bad from taking over, and they're currently having to do so by certain totems. 5 totems get placed into these monsters throughout the world, and our hero of it, as it were, has to stop them. But whoever gets the totems first is the one who gets the power, can unleash the darkness from the dark world, and they can go into this actual real battle, and the world may be destroyed. One of the things I love about this book is that it is made by an Indonesian company, and so they use places that we may not recognize from Indonesia and folklore and words. And so I like it because they give us these little tidbits in here, like they named a place and they were like, hey, just so you know, before you go forward anymore in the story, here's where that place is and what it is and why it's important to Indonesian culture. And I thought, what a great thing, because it's a place I would have looked up because it looks really cool in the book, but maybe not everybody would take the time to go look it up. So I love that they include these cultural moments in the story. And then they also are like, hey, in Indonesian culture, like this element that we also just referenced in writing style and words means this. And so if you haven't checked out a Vizzy 8 Entertainment book yet, they've got Changelings and they've got Kara, Guardian of the Realms. Kara is more middle grade young readers, and Changelings is teen and up for the most part. But I think there's nothing in it that a young reader couldn't enjoy. So if you do have a young reader who's into something like Percy Jackson or Avatar: The Last Airbender especially, they're really gonna like Changelings. Up next we have Terror War issue 3 from Image Comics. This book has been a crazy ride for the first 2 issues, because it is the story of a world where nightmares become reality and they become these giant monsters who attack us. And essentially we have police forces that are like Ghostbusters, and each one's kind of like a bounty hunter team that comes in and takes it out. And we've got this ragtag group that doesn't really follow, like they follow the rules, but like not really. They're kind of just like, our group is our family, and it's like putting the Fast and the Furious team inside of a place where they have to stop ghosts or monsters from coming around. But they're like, we have to stick together no matter what. And so far, we've seen them go against another group who they didn't like, and how that kind of worked out as they all kind of had to fight together. And then now we learn for the first time a lot about the world and where the city, how the city is set up, and how there is an upper class who gets to live out in this world where you can see the beautiful stars in the skies, and who live in these like nice little dome cities. And then there's the people who deal with the terrors on a regular basis and who are fighting the war in essentially the slums. And now this team, because they are expendable, has basically been invited by this rich politician to come in and fight a war that nobody has been able to defeat. And it is up to them whether or not they're going to decide to take on that cause. But guess what? You know, we don't really have a say-so a lot of times. So we're setting up for some really, really, really crazy stuff to come from whatever this team is going to have to face in the next issue. We don't even know what it is yet, but we know that it may be the worst thing that we've seen, and we've seen some pretty crazy monsters so far. So if you haven't jumped in on Terror War, now's the time. We're 3 issues in. We know that issue 3 is that turning point where we always say give it 3 issues and then you're going to find out. And now we know where this book's going, and it is going to be a fun adventure with a family of people who is poised to have that, like, that action hero family moment of, like, I will do anything for my team. So give it a go. I'm going to take another drink. All right. We've got Don't Spit in the Wind, issue 3 from Madcave. Matt's, like, cheering in the background because he loves this book so much. This is such a cool book. Stefano Carticelli is just so good at art, and he is doing such a great job building out this universe, and every issue of this book could honestly be a pick of the week because it's just so beautiful to look at. But the story is super cool too, because we do have a world where, shocking to no one, humans have destroyed it because we're wasteful and we throw trash everywhere and we don't care about our environment. And now we've destroyed it, and now the trash is coming back to destroy us. And guess what? We still don't care. And the poor people have to live amongst it, and they have to deal with it, and they have to clean up the mess, but there's nowhere to clean it up to. And the rich people don't care that the poor people are dying, and they don't care that they know that they're going to be next. And we just have this one guy who's like, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing my job, because if I don't do my job, there's no hope for anyone. And there's some stuff, we're losing some people left and right, and we're trying to figure out where everybody is going and what we can do to save the world, and if there's any hope for us left at all. And after this issue, I don't know that there is. So we're moving in some dark, beautiful moments. What were you saying? Oh.
Issue 4 is the last one.
Issue 4 is the last one. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy wild ending for sure, because that doesn't feel very hopeful for us. We are Scarlet Twilight, issue 2 of 4 from Red 5 Comics. This is a pulpy book for all of the pulp fans in the world. If you miss the golden age of comics and you are wanting some of that, this is definitely a chance for you to relive those moments in a modern style book. This is the story of our superhero who was fighting in the old days and working against a bad guy who was going to take over the world, who was going to do it all. And we find out that our superhero is a vampire in issue 1. And he has some big battles that happen really fast. And in this issue, we find out that there were a lot of things that happened that I don't want to spoil from issue 1. So we find out that he has a sidekick that's been building up an army, essentially, in a really cool way, and I like the way it's happening. And now we've kind of come a little bit towards the now time period, and we've seen some things updated for our pulp hero. And I like that they call it a cyber pulp comic, because we get to this like futuristic style, but he's still a pulp hero, so it's just this blend. There's this great moment in here where he's got let's see if I can find it. He's telling like the guys, like his little people, like his sidekick that's like made this army, they're like, oh, we updated some of your weapons and stuff. And he's like, oh, here it is. He's like, oh, you still have my laser guns. He's like, I never actually needed them because I'm a vampire, so they were just lights and sirens and stuff to make me look cool. And he's like, is that what you guys did? Like, what'd you do for the lights now? And he shoots it, and it's like an actual laser gun. And they were like, oh, we actually made those work. And so there's just those classic, like, funny, like, pulp things where the hero's like, haha, and then you do get that modern, like, darker edge to it where it's like, actually, this is a real weapon now. But it's great, and I love this because his big quote from this issue was, I've been asleep a long time, and so has democracy, and well, I think it's time we both woke up. So such fun book. Really cool. I love the bad guy. She's got that classic femme fatale leader's like look to her, but then she's like the leader of this like underground crime thing that's also like vampiric. So if you haven't read it, We Are Scarlet Twilight is just so much fun. I think that's one of those books that everybody should be picking up, especially my pulp comic fans. Up next, Arcade Kings issue 2 from Image and their Skybound imprint. And this is an oversized issue you're going to get every time. I think it's only going to be, is it only going to be 3? It might only be 3. But either way, it's an oversized issue. A square-bound book, I should say. And this is the story of a young boy whose father is just absolutely terrible. He's that classic overbearing, like, oh, I'm the greatest fighter of all time. You need to become like me. You need to do all the things that I do. And this kid doesn't want to do that. So he goes off on his own. He starts wearing this mask so people can't see his face. And he actually becomes a video gamer. And he gets kind of famous off of that. And in the end of issue 1, somebody comes and says, hey, your dad is looking for you. You have to come home. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, well, you should hear about the danger that your little brother's in. And we kind of get this flashback where he's like, oh, I'm supposed to protect my little brother. And he's like, okay, I'll go back for that, but not on your terms. And we get these very Scott Pilgrim-esque fight scenes that blend both actual fighting and video games and different things like that together. Seriously, this, if you are Brian Lee O'Malley, Scott Pilgrim fan, this is your next book to pick up, because it has a lot of that. Like, he meets a girl and she's like, this is my area, and they end up fighting, and then somebody comes for him and he's like, another one of you? Okay, give me your spiel. Like, just like Scott Pilgrim. And they're like, I'm here because your dad sent me because of this and this and this. And so you get that, like, almost over the top experience for it. And then we learn that in this issue, he's like, I'm gonna, like, they don't even, like, they're like, we're not even gonna fight you if we don't have to, because we know that you'll come to us. And we kind of see what it is that motivates him and what will pull him along the way. And we're gonna see some big stuff in issue 3. The end of this issue, the cliffhanger that it left us on, I was like yelling at the book at the end, because I was like, no, like, that can't be what you're gonna do to us. And so we'll see where this goes, but there's some possibilities for some epic team-ups coming later on as well, and I hope that we get to see those. So Arcade Kings, great for people who love video games, who love Scott Pilgrim, and who just want a fun, bright book to read. All right, ending this week is Volume 1 of Pandora from Frank Miller Press. This is Frank Miller and Emma Kubert on this. Issue 6, sorry. I was like, into Volume 1. That's where it ends. Yes, Issue 6. This is the story of a young girl who lives with her mother and her grandfather in a boarding house, and they are on the edge of the woods, and one day she sees a random person she's never seen before who comes out of the woods, and she meets him and starts talking to him, and she learns that there's this secret world on the other side of the woods that she's never heard of. And in classic young adult novel fashion, she follows him into the woods as she is not supposed to, and she learns of this magic world, and within it all of the trolls and goblins and different things that are there. And now in this issue, we as readers, without her, learn of the darkness that's been ruling this world and how it is going to come for them. And the darkness discovers that the portal to the human world is now open because she has messed up and come through it. And so we don't know, but Volume 2 might lead us into these people spilling over into our world, but it's definitely going to lead to some epic fantasy creatures having to fight to save their world, and we'll see where our main character falls on that. And there is a big twist with who all of the Dark Ones are and who they're connected to. I have my theories because we don't know for sure, but I have some really good theories based off of what's happened in issues 1 through 5. And so if you're reading Pandora, please come talk to me, because I need to talk about whether or not that's where this is going, especially if they're going to leave me on a trade break right now. So please read Pandora and then come talk to me about all of your theories and my theories, because I need to talk about it. Or like Emma Kubert, you could just like message me and we could talk about it, but don't spoil it, because I just want to know, but I don't. And then also ending this week is Last Barbarians. This is issue 5 from Image and their Shadowline imprint. This is the story of a young girl and her brother, and they were in a world where everybody has a guild and you have to be a part of something, and she's been kicked out of every single guild in the world. And so her brother has as well, and now they have nowhere to go, and they end up teaming up with this guy who's like, hey, well, I'll pay you for this mission, and I might be able to get you back into the guilds if you do it. And they go, and they're told that they are rescuing his nephew, and then it becomes his grandson, and it becomes like his cousin, and then she realizes that he's not related to this person at all, and they're taking this kid because of his magic. And finally in this issue we learn what it is that they want this kid and his magic for, and her brother have to figure out how they can save the day if they're going to save themselves and this kid and possibly the world before it's too late. And we see a lot of character development for everybody kind of in this issue, or we see them struggle and fall really quickly. So if you didn't read it, it's now wrapped up. You can go back in and grab the whole thing and check it out. Launching this week are some books I'm going to talk about after I drink this wine. All right, we're going to kick it off with Godzilla, Here There Be Dragons, #1 from IDW. This is a Godzilla story told by a pirate. I could literally just leave it at that, because that is the selling point to the whole thing right there. We've never had a pirate tell us a Godzilla story before. But this is the story of a pirate who is in jail, and as with all pirates, he is sentenced to be hanged the next day. And he's like, hey, if you hang me, you're never going to find out about Monster Island. I know where it exists. I know I was on the ship that found it. I can get you back there. And they're like, we don't believe you. And he literally is like, bring me a bottle of rum and I'll tell you the story. And so we get the story of some sailors trying to find Monster Island. And of course, the Queen of England sanctions it off the records, and they have to beat the Spanish there, as with all pirate stories of the time. And their goal is to end up finding Monster Island before it's too late. And maybe finding Monster Island is never a good idea. We don't, I want to hug Godzilla too, guys, but it doesn't seem like it's a great idea for any of us. I'm really curious because we also have like the King Kong book right now. And that's not even IDW, right? That one's like, is that Dynamite for King Kong? Yeah, but that one's also on Monster Island. And so it's so funny because I'm like, we're all trying to bring in the Monster Island stories going on right now. And so it makes me just wonder if like the franchises, because we just had Godzilla vs. Kong. We were told that was possibly the last movie from that franchise, but now everybody's bringing up Monster Island and all their works again. So I don't know, as a Godzilla fan, as a King Kong fan, I'm going to read whatever you put out. It doesn't really matter. But I do want to know, like, why are we so big on Monster Island right now? Like, where are we going with that? And where is this leading us? I don't know. I do like the way they draw these covers. I also, like, this cover alone was my selling point for me when this came in. But it doesn't matter. I'm in no matter what. You got Godzilla and you got pirates. I mean, come on. 2 things you gotta have in the world. Killing Hope #1 from Bliss on Tap Publishing. And this is the story of a woman who, for some reason, everybody in the world wants to kill her. And we are following along as she is trying to get away from all that. So the tagline of the book is like literally like, if everybody wants you dead, where do you go? I love it because it has this nice sunset color the whole way through this book, but it opens up and she is kind of trying to get away. You can tell instantly that she's really nervous. We open up in this gas station scene and she's like, everybody is watching her. There's something about it where no matter where she goes, people are following her. And she ends up getting in a car accident, and this man saves her. And she doesn't know like who he is. She doesn't trust him because everybody in the world is trying to kill her. And apparently he's the only person on the planet who doesn't know that he's supposed to be after her. And so he takes her in and is trying to help her recover from this car accident. And in the process, he learns just enough to know that something is going on and everybody is chasing her. And that's all we learn too. I can't tell you why we're trying to kill Hope. I cannot tell you what is special about her. I know nothing, and I love that. I think that after the first issue of a comic like this, I should be completely lost. And you did a great job of making me like care and yet not know why I care for this character. And so I know that like we have to keep her alive, and I'm with this guy where I'm like, it seems like it's really important that you not die, but like I don't really know why, and I don't know where we're going with it. So I'm in because I need to find out. So if you also love those crazy, confusing stories that are meant to be that way, thriller, if it were action thrillers, definitely check it out. Camp Pickens, Chilling Adventures presents issue 1 from Archie Comics, and the amazing Francavilla cover that happens here. This is the story of the Archie kids at summer camp, and we're going to get all of the classic summer camp horror stories that you can get. It starts with Jughead and his cabin in a story called Bug Juice, and he is telling the kids that they need to figure out why there is no more bug juice, and they have to go find some more bugs, because if they don't drink bug juice, which is made from actual bugs, the monsters of the camp will be able to find them. And they're like, that's not true. And then Jughead begins to tell them the stories of all the times that bad things have happened to campers who didn't drink bug juice. And so we get a story about Betty, and then we get a story, we get a story about, we go back to the kids trying to fight for the bugs, and then we get a story about Veronica and all of the things that she did, which is great because in Betty's story, she's like, does anybody know what happened to Veronica? Like, where's Veronica? And then it goes back to Jughead, and then it pops to Veronica's story. This is the kind of these Archie, like, one-shots that I love when they all connect together with one, like, overarching story that goes between them, and then the little mini shorts are also new stories that connect to that. I love when we get those. So many times we get the one new one and then the old stories from the digest that they just put into comic format. But I love it when they give us whole new worlds for these Archie stories. And this one's great because it's Jughead trying to lead the day and save things. So super fun. Up next, we have Tales of Suspense. And this is issue 1 from Image and the imprint that I always say wrong, Syzygy. And there are two mini stories in here. I feel like there's actually 3, but there's 2 listed. Stories in here of some their own little tales of suspense, which I love, that we're kind of bringing back that feel of horror anthologies. I love this. Oh my gosh. I love this first one for the color palette. It's such a weird, crazy, cool thing, but we're getting 2 of those like classic horror stories in here. With the Syzygy imprint, we always get the Ashley Wood story, and Ashley Wood has some crazy like robots and things like that. I'm trying really hard not to like give too much about these because they kind of go really quickly because they're vignettes and they do kind of connect together. And they are kind of crazy, so I don't want to actually give you too much. But I want you to see the cool art from them. And I love the first one just with all of those, like, oh, this is weird and crazy. And then this, like, they lead into, sorry, I love this so much. I'm here for this, like, the combination art, because it leads into our backup story, and you get this little teaser for it that leads between the 2 art styles. And I think that's such a cool way to do it, because the second story is all more of a modern art. And it follows a guy who is the Dreamweaver, and he's this kind of like the gruff detective kind of guy in this supernatural world. And we see him on this adventure to figure out what is going on in some suspenseful, weird, creepy stories. And so we get him moving through. We also see that, like, he's not who he used to be. He's not up to date anymore, and they're like, you're not really qualified for the thing that you're doing, and he might not be able to make it through this issue. And I love that, because it's like issue 1 and we're already seeing our character kind of falling apart and not able to handle the weird, crazy stuff that's coming his way. And again, we just get some really cool blends of art and storytelling from this team. And I think Chris Ryle and Ashley Wood both have stories in here, which are the two people who run Syzygy. So I love that they're kind of giving us one of these stories where they blend things together. So if you're a fan of horror anthologies, but you're also into like Ashley Wood's robot stories, and you're also into the concept of all of like the supernatural and the actual just like sci-fi of the future kind of blending together and taking over our world, this is a great story for that. I'm going to do this one first. We've got The Return of Blacksmith. This is The Key to His Heart, issue 1, and this is the newest volume of Blacksmith from Ahoy Comics. And this is the story of a detective who is half werewolf, who works with a partner who is half djinn. And they live in the city, and they kind of deal with supernatural creatures who come into our real world situation. And in this particular story, they are hunting down a girl. They've been hired as private detectives to hunt down a girl who is just out with her boyfriend. She's like run away with her boyfriend, and the mom's like worried that they're gonna have sex, and she's like, oh, you need to go rescue my child, or at least that's what we think it is. But seeing as this is Blacksmith, everybody is some kind of mythical creature, and so we find out that there is more to this young girl than even she knows. And we find out I don't want to show you that because I kind of told you. We find out that they've been hired specifically because the mom might have an inkling that there's something wrong with the daughter, but nobody really knows what it is except for our team of detectives. And their way of solving the problem is not to destroy the young girl, but to bring her into their team and give her the chance to kind of have an internship. So we're going to get an all-new character to the Blacksmith world, where we're going to have this young girl who has her own little supernatural problem developing as a part of the team. It's really cool. If you haven't read any of it before, you're honestly not going to be confused if you jump in here, because this is one of those where it's like, okay, that was that adventure, and now this is this adventure, and there's going to be little pieces here and there that are like, oh, that was character, like they get a package, and you're like, ooh, I don't know necessarily who that package is from. And if you read the previous one, you might have an inkling, but you're not going to be lost because it's going to come into play in the story later on. And then our last new number 1 is Wild's End from Boom Studios. And this is a 6-part miniseries. This is the story of some animals who live in a fishing town. And they are all talking about going out on the boat, and things are, at that point where it's like, so-and-so needs to retire, like the captain needs to retire, who's going to take over for the captain? And the captain's grandson comes on, or nephew, and I think it's grandson, and he's like, oh, well, he's not going to take over necessarily, but he needs to learn how to do something with his life. And we just kind of see a day in their life as they're out fishing on this boat, and they're all kind of wondering, like, what's going to happen, where are we going, what's life mean, all of those kinds of things, just those day-to-day conversations. We see each of them be annoyed by the young kid. We see each of them kind of fighting with each other. And then there's a storm, and the boat is, knocked around for a little bit, and they do make it home, I think. Some things happen when they land at home that definitely change the entirety of the book. And so while it seems like a very slice of life book for these animals, we are actually going to enter into a Twilight Zone kind of story by the end of it, which is such a cool twist on where this story is going. And I cannot wait to see what happens next, because of just like those last few pages bringing in a really great thing. Beautiful character development for every single one. I now know exactly how they're going to react to everything that could happen. And so when things got crazy in those last few moments, it was like I already was a part of the team and was ready to go with them. So great start. We'll see where this goes for sure. All right, we got some picks of the week. Couple of them that honestly could just always be picks of the week. Up first is Ollie Eyes issue 3 from Dark Horse Comics. Honestly, this is here for all 3 issues because I don't know if we've ever put it in the picks of the week. I couldn't remember, but I was like, you know what? This book should have been at some point, so I'm just bringing it out.
And there's only one left.
And there's only one left, yes. And this is the story of some really gigantic spiders. This is a story of a young guy who finds out that giant spiders exist. And he finds this homeless man like attacking he thinks a person in issue 1, and it turns out that there is this giant spider, and he is now awakened to a world where giant spiders have been ransacking our society for years, and now he can't go back. And in the second issue, we kind of see him fighting those giant spiders with his homeless man partner. And in this issue, he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I'm going to try to go home. And he realizes 5 minutes after leaving that he really actually cannot do that. And that center page spread is so beautiful, but I don't really want to show it at the same time. But he has to go back. He's got to fight his spider demons. And we get finally the backstory of his spider ally. And it's such not the story I was expecting, and so well done, and such a great piece of character development for that character that I was like, I know how you can wrap it all up in one more issue because you've moved forward in big, well done chunks. For a book that is only 4 issues, a lot of times when we have those, you see the story, you feel like there's like pieces missing along the way. This is actually moved naturally in those almost like what feels like big jumps, but they're all natural. It could be 3 days that we've grown this much as a group of people, or it could be 3 months and we've grown this much as a group of people. Like, I can't really tell you what the time frame is because it moves so naturally between each issue. But I absolutely think that wherever this goes in the next issue, it's probably going to wrap it up perfectly, and it's been such a cool story along the way. And if you were a fan of Where Monsters Lie, this is your artist, and you need to come and navigate this way and check this out because this is another great piece of art from that creative. So, all right. Up next, we have Silence, Track 3 from Literati Press. This book has been absolutely wonderful. It is the story of a young girl who finds out that her father is missing. He is a fisherman in her hometown, and he has gone missing. And she finds out because she gets a form letter that they didn't even put his name in. They're like, "Dear family member, it comes to our attention that your family member, mother, father, son, like completely blank, like options still left in there, has gone missing." And so she, who left home to be a musician, is like, I have to go back and figure out what happened to my dad. This is my fault. And she ends up teaming up with a bunch of other people who feel like everything is their fault, who also chose to live their life as musicians. And they all end up on this submarine together to go out into the ocean to try to find where her lost family members are. And each issue, we kind of get to see them all kind of talk about their musical influences. They all kind of play music together or play some records, and they just kind of talk about the power of music. And in this one, our ship captain tells us her story about when she was essentially a riot girl and how she instituted feminism and destroying the patriarchy and different things. But one of my favorite things, and honestly the thing that I love the most, is there is a news station, a radio station that they're listening to. Not a news station at all. It's a radio station that they're listening to, and it's constantly playing like the classics and different things. And in this one, they play the song called "You Ain't Alone." And I love this quote that they have that says, you find a musician whose pain matches your own, and for one brief second, there's someone else on the planet who knows that what you've gone through, and for that fleeting second, you don't feel so alone. You're not alone. And sometimes things aren't okay, and we're not here to offer some empty, cliched sentiment that will lie to you and say it is. And hey, sometimes things are better than okay. Sometimes you're with your old lady and you can feel her warm breath on the back of your neck and you just can't find the words to articulate how you feel. Either way, we'll be there with the track, wrapped in a bow just for you. This is KHRS reminding you you're not alone. And then you see the page that it's on, and the fact that it's like this empty, dark space as it says that, and it's like you did a perfect job of showcasing like what it feels like in that moment, and how many times like is that the only thing that pulls you out of your darkness is the music that you find in it. Like you know, we all have like those go-to songs that make us feel better when we're depressed, or the songs we listen to when we're depressed that we're like, I just need to be sad for a minute, and you listen to your sad song. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love that they do that. But one of my other favorite things they did is they talk about how making up all the fake band names has been one of the most fun parts of making this book. And so they have this master list of all the fake band names they created. And I think they're amazing. They have some hysterically great names like Super Bad Habits. Where did the other one go? Metal Harlot. Death Surplus. Mouth Shower. Venus Mantis. Karaoke Sway. Sweaty Muffins. There's so many good ones. Damage Disadvantage. Sounds like a band. Kind Child Tyrants. There's so many good ones. I wanted to read them to you and then ask you if you had to make up your own fake band name, what would your fake band name be? And it doesn't count if you actually have a band and that's the name of your band. You have to make up a weird fake band name by taking random words and putting them together. I love this book. Literati has yet to disappoint me. They always have great books with high quality printing, which I love. And this is another great one. Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, your Gideon Falls team, are back with another book in the Bone Orchard mythos, and this is issue 1 of Tenement. This is such a crazy book that, once again, reminder, if you haven't read anything from the Bone Orchard mythos universe, it doesn't matter. There is going to, at some point, maybe be this thing that connects them all, according to Jeff and Andrea Sorrentino, but not in the way that it's like a Marvel book where you need to pick up issues like that connect and stuff like that. There's no crossovers necessarily you have to read. This can be your only book you read. But this is the story of a group of people who all live in the same apartment building. And we learn about each and every single one of these residents who are going to come into play in the story. And the main thing is that each of them has had some weird, crazy experiences in their life, whether that's just a bad day or crazy dreams or the feeling of something bad happening, fights with their significant others, all different things. And the reason for all of this and getting to know them is because there is an evil rising up in the building, and it is coming for these like 10 people who live in this building, and they aren't going to be able to stop it in any way. And so we get to see each of them as they go through it, but we also get a book narrated by the person who already knows what the evil is, who doesn't actually give us any of the information we need to survive this book. And so it's going to be dark and creepy in that classic horror way. It's also going to have that complete Sorrentino Lemire blend where it's like there's something lurking in the background of every page and you don't know when it's going to hit you, but you know that it's coming. And as always with Jeff Lemire, there's going to be some kind of emotional tie to it, and that is going to come probably from the fact that one of the characters that lives in this tenement is a young boy, and he seems to be able to see as well, all, like kind of recognize all the different hurt and fears in all of the people that he's interacting with, mostly because he just is a child and children pay attention to things. And so I can't wait to see how his story is going to kind of be somewhere in that heartfelt journey for this horrific story that Jeff Lemire is going to put up. And speaking of horrific stories, I have a trade paperback in my picks of the week with the Atonement Bell. Excuse me, let me correct myself. The Eisner nominated for Best New Series, The Atonement Bell from Red 5 Comics. Super excited about the fact that this is an Eisner nominee. If you don't know what the Eisners are, they are essentially the Oscars for comic books. Everything from Best Writer, Penciler, Inker, Best New Series, Best Limited Series, Best Books for Kids, Best Books for Teens, all of those things. There's like 37 categories, one of them being Best New Series, and this book was nominated for it. And this is the story of a young boy named Jake and his mother who traveled to visit his aunt during the holidays. And when they get there, they have to go with her to church and experience everything that she's done and that all of her beliefs and things like that. And when they go there, they find out, I'm just going to show you this craziness. They find out that there's some dark, creepy stuff happening at the church. And Mom doesn't find out, only Jake does. And Jake and his cousin Al end up wrapped up in the middle of this ancient sacrifice that somebody's got to make in order to keep the church prospering. And Jake and his friend Al, or his cousin Al, and their new friend Sarah must fight to figure out how to save themselves from all of the stuff that's coming by the ring of the bell. This book is great. I think it was 5 issues total, but now it's all here. It's all collected. See why it's nominated for Best New Series by picking it up and checking it out in trade paperback form. And congrats to the creative team and Red 5 for that Eisner nomination. Well deserved. I'm so excited for you. All right, we got some other books in stock this week. Coming up first, we had Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 65. These are color reprints of The Walking Dead. We've got Street Fighter, issue 4. If you are a fan of the Street Fighter video game, here is a comic book that you can read to relive all of your favorite moments. I am Iron Man number 4. We have an Invincible Iron Man and I am Iron Man, both going on at the same time. Hallows Eve, issue 4. I love this series. She is my new favorite Spider-Man villain. She's fantastic. I love she has it. I just saw her Hellfire Gala dress and I need it. Somebody make it for me. Cults of Carnage Misery issue 2 out this week. Rick and Morty issue number 6 for the current series going on. They are at the beach. Betsy Braddock Captain Britain issue 5. Cyborg issue 2, part of your Dawn of DC, and I know everybody's been really excited about this series for these last 2 issues. The Vigil issue 2, part of our new characters coming out in Dawn of DC. Ultimate Invasion. We are bringing back the Ultimate Universe for Marvel, and we are having Jonathan Hickman bring it to you. So you are getting a massive book, and somebody pointed this out to me this week. There are no ads in this book. This is like a super-sized Marvel book that has absolutely no ads and all of your standard Jonathan Hickman classic design work and details. So if you have been missing that Ultimate Universe, it's coming back and it's right here. And of course, Miles is going to be front and center in all of it. X-Force 41 out this week. Wonder Woman, celebrating 800 issues. Congratulations, Wonder Woman. And this is Tom King leading the charge on Wonder Woman. And we are seeing a lot more about her daughter in her teenage years. We know that Tom King's story, once he fully takes over, is going to take us back in time. And we're going to see how we get this daughter. But this was the main first appearance of Trinity, as she is called as a superhero. And she has 3 lassos. Dawn of DC Titans, issue 2. If you are a fan of Nightwing and you've been waiting for the rest of the Titans to come back, they are here. Dawn of DC's Superboy, Man of Tomorrow. We've got all of the Super Family back right now in comics, and I know everybody's been really, really excited about that. Superman is back with issue 5 as part of your Dawn of DC. King Spawn, issue 23. And we've had some really crazy cool covers for Spawn, all the Spawn series right now. Edge of Spider-Verse, issue 3. This is your Spider Smasher story, but also this is going to have the first big Spider-Boy story in it. So if you've been collecting those Spider-Boy covers, this one actually has a Spider-Boy story in it. Rogue Sun out this week with issue 13 as a part of your massive verse. And Nightwing issue 105, also connecting to your Dawn of DC for those of you who are trying to get all those books. The Incredible Hulk is back this week, and your new Hulk writer is Philip Kennedy Johnson, who just recently did the Superman and the Action Comics run, now on the Hulk. And this is your Scotty Young cover that I've had so many people asking me for this week. Hellcat back with issue 4. Guardians of the Galaxy issue 3. Danny Ketch Ghost Rider issue 2. This is we have both Ghost Rider, both regular, like Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider and Danny Ketch Ghost Rider on the shelf right now. We're in the middle of swimsuit variant month for the DC books, and so we've got Catwoman issue 56 with her swimsuit variant. It's crazy. I feel like we just had last year's swimsuit variant, but it's already been a year. Bloodline Daughter of Blade issue 5. We do have the Blade series launching soon, so this universe of Blade characters is about to get bigger. Batman Superman World's Finest issue 16. I almost said 14, apparently. I'm 2 months behind. Detective Comics 1072. Avengers issue 2 with the new relaunch of the Avengers that's happening, and this is Jed McKay on Avengers, if I'm correct. Yes. And I love how much Vision is playing a role in that. The Vampire Slayer issue 15 as part of your Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe. Time Before Time issue 24. And then we've got 2 new trades out from Marvel this week with Captain America Symbol of Truth. This is the Sam Wilson Captain America story. And the newest Secret Invasion series that just wrapped up recently is out in trade format. So if you are curious about what a Secret Invasion is in the Marvel Universe, we do know that we have the old one that you can grab and check that out. But if you just want to kind of connect with what's going on in the Secret Invasion show, this is actually the most recent series, and it's honestly really close to what they're doing because it is very focused on Maria Hill and Nick Fury and their detecting of what's happening with the Skrulls and the possible invasion of Skrulls into our world. And this is issues 1 through 5. You should definitely check it out if you are going to be watching that show. That's all the books we have for you this week. Coming up this Wednesday, obviously it's New Comic Book Day. There's going to be a lot of great comics. I'm very excited. The end of the month, we always get some really cool stuff launching and kicking us off for the next month. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I know there's going to be a lot of indie books coming out this week that I'm excited for. So hopefully you're excited for them too. We're going to be talking about all of them next Sunday when we wind down your weekend. Don't forget to check out our event on our Facebook page for Bat City Night at the Bradenton Marauders. You can click the link through there so that you can buy your ticket to come join us for the baseball game on July 15th. Until then, we will see you in the shop this week to pick up your new comics, or we'll see you here on Sunday nights to talk about all the great ones we love reading. Hope you have a nice week. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.